In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? During my hiatus, I came into contact with a new friend. She is a TikToker and a person that I came across in Kevin Samuel's fan page 2.0 on YouTube, on Facebook, excuse me. And she and I were kind of going round and round because she professed to be an avid reader and historian. Yet all she ever cited was bell hooks and a number of other feminist literature, books, magazines, whatever, whatever she could find. It was always something that was pointing towards the ineffectual leadership of black males, non-existent discrimination against black males. Always the black females had it worse. And they were the biggest, sufferers during the slave trade and whatnot. And she went on and on. So I had to, go ahead and check her TikTok out and see what exactly she was getting at. So I'm gonna, we're gonna take a look at that, and I'm gonna see what you guys think, and I will tell you what I came across when I delved into it a little bit. So let's get going here. Well, I'm going to show you the my nifty intro there. And what she says in her TikTok is the so-called emasculation of black males. She says she is so tired of this talk of black male emasculation. And her name is BurbNBougie. I'm not going to, take her name out because, she should be challenged on this, and I don't mean harassment or anything like that. I mean that she should be challenged. Questions should be asked. People of sound minds and objectivity need to interact with this young lady to get her straight, because one doesn't study history from a singular perspective. There is fact checking, cross-referencing that takes place when one actually studies history, because any fool knows that history is written by the victors. But there's also information that can be cross-referenced that can get you to the truth. There are also historical documents that are written by people who actively participated in events, but were not necessarily the victors. She is not aware of this, or either she doesn't want to be aware of it. I sense a degree of a willful ignorance in her, and among other things. But I'll let you guys take a look at what she says. I'm rambling on. Like I said, like the lead attorney says, I don't want to long stroke you. So let's delve into this and see what this young lady has to say. Alrighty. So again, here's her TikTok. And she says, I'm so tired of this talk of black male emasculation. Bell hooks, hashtag black women, hashtag black TikToker, you know. So let's hear what she has to say. Let's see what you guys think.
So right now, the argument about emasculation of black men is constantly in the on social media and the news. And I'm in this book, and I just happened upon this part. This is "Ain't I a Woman" by Bell Hooks, and it's talking about black men were the real victims of slavery. It says, the most cruel and dehumanizing impact of slavery on the lives of black people was that black men were stripped of their masculinity, which then they argue resulted in the dissolution and overall disruption of any black familial structure. So basically, it's saying to suggest that black men were dehumanized solely as the result of not being able to be the patriarch implies that the subjugation of black women was essential to the black man's development of a positive self-concept. So, black men needed to have women to subjugate in order to really live in their masculinity. Imagine that. And the craziest part is black men were still able to have masculine roles when it came to the roles that slavers put them in. They didn't have to wear feminine clothing. They didn't have to perform like women perform.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Men were not forced to wear women's clothes. Men still had male roles. Anyone who knows anything about slavery, and I would suggest that you guys read The American Slave Coast. They Were Her Property. The Half That's Never Been Told. Those three books right there would decimate any argument that Bell Hooks makes, and the assumptions that this young lady is making, but I'm going to leave it short right there.
They were laborers in the field. But on the flip side, women were expected to be laborers. They were in the household as domestic workers. They were breeders, and they had to endure rape from white men. So
did black men.
Black women had so many more roles and so many other things done to them, whereas black men just couldn't subjugate black women. That was what the issue was in slavery. I'm just so tired of the talk of emasculation. It's like men can't really rest in their masculinity without a foot on the black woman's neck, it seems. That is their measure of masculinity. And who the heck is taking away their masculinity in 2021? Nobody is forcing you into a dress. No.
How about they force you through? I mean, look, how many comedians have we heard say that they have proposed that they wear a dress and pushed and pushed and pushed, offering more and more money? That's can be described as force. Yet she is dismissive of that. She's dismissive of any pain that black men endured during slavery, or anything that they had to do. And she's clearly naive about the effects of slavery on black men and black women, because she only reads bell hooks. So a woman who wrote this book, if I'm not mistaken, when she was 19 years old. So at 19, she knew all of this. She was so smart that she knew all of this enough to write this book and then, lead all these women into this direction. Because I've read that book, and it makes a lot of assertions. It's wrong on so many levels and has been picked apart by scholars. Bell Hooks used no empirical studies, never, ever used any study of black men, nor did she do any interviews of black men or anything. She doesn't cite any sources. So how is she an expert? How is she able to become an expert in the eyes of so many women and mentor so many women to this side of thinking? But let's move on.
Nobody is forcing you into feminine roles. Nobody is doing this. This is what you are doing to yourself. And there's nobody taking away women's femininity. So you're going to have to step your game up and try to rest in your own masculinity without blaming women.
So no one's taking women's, femininity away. So I guess she is ignoring all of these women out here who are dressing like guys. They are addressing men like guys. When they get into a conflict or any kind of altercation with a man, they respond like men. And the term penis envy has been used, and it comes to mind because the only way a woman sees being powerful is to emulate a man. And then once you emulate a man, they seem to think that we would find that attractive, as if we're attracted to men. And you'll see that a lot of feminists like to use this as an attack against us. And I'm going to delve into her TikToks a bit more. Give you guys a little bit more of this if you want me to. I saw some juicy, entertaining bits in her TikTok. You guys go check her out and give her a shout out. Tell her I sent you. I tried to get her to come on to my show. I was going to do an interview with her. She said that she's a very busy woman. She's a housewife, and she only has a couple of minutes, to basically do something like that. So I said, if you give me at least 15, I'd appreciate it. And she said she would think about it, and I've got to get my technicals together so that I can start doing interviews. So I'm going to have to, reach out maybe to BGS and, a few of the other elders in the field here, help me out with that. But, moving on here, I reached out to some of our resident experts. I reached out to Dr. Ronald Neal, and I reached out to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson. Okay. Dr. T gave me a few tips to share in this, and one is, he said to look into Tommy Curry's analysis of the subculture of violence theory, where he discusses where Black feminists got their ideas from, and they got their ideas from racist studies conducted by white men. Okay. They were racist. They were non-empirical studies on Black men. Again, like I said, they were done by white scholars. Now, he says also that Hooks had a habit of not citing any data in her research, only adds to her development of arguments with no depth of analysis. Okay. So he also said that, we should look into a paper called Decolorizing The Intersection by Tommy J. Curry. Okay. And I expressed to him that I felt that this young lady was an idiot. You know, I'm sorry. I have to call it like I see it. And this paper would lend more credence to why she is an idiot. So I encourage you guys to go ahead and look for that paper. I tried to pull it up, so I apologize. I will put it in the description. And I also reached out to Dr. Ronald Neal. So, and I'll tell you what he said. So he also said that Tommy Curry's work refutes bell hooks. She was also refuted by a Harvard sociologist, Orlando Patterson. Bell hooks never studied Black men empirically. She relied on anecdotes and stereotypes. Her book on masculinity is flawed. And she has no citations. She has no evidence to prove her assertions about Black men in any of her material. And it shows intellectual, lazy traits if, bell hooks is being referenced solely for historical references. Okay. So let's see what else he says. Again, yes, bell hooks did write that book when she was 19 years old. He said the book was biased, revisionist history in favor of Black women. So there you have two experts in the field who basically has torn down this woman and bell hooks argument concerning our position historically, and how she tried to lead it up to modern Black men's experiences, and it's shameful. It really is. I just I don't know what to say about this other than to give her, I'm gonna give her 5 hyenas on a hyena scale. That's 4, but I give her 5. That's a hyena call, for all the hyenas to come out and basically congregate and share their mythology, and basically get stronger, and, they all get together and they just have a ball, laughing about, doing their thing. And you ask yourself, how do we get here? So I'm going to show you how we got here with the help of our friend, Dr. Neal.
Brothers, I want you to take a good look. I'm in Barnes and Nobles, and this is supposed to be the Black section of our Barnes and Nobles right here. This represents all the most contemporary books about Black people written by Black authors. You see that? It's supposed to be black. But brothers, I'm a bit thrown off. You know why I'm a bit thrown off? Because most of the titles of the titles, most of the titles reflect something other than just black, 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 black. Most of the authors here are women. Most of them. Look at this. Most of these books are written by women, and I've looked inside some of these books. Look at this. I've looked inside some of these books, and a lot of stuff just deals with female themes. It's hard to say that they deal exclusively with black people. It's very, 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 very difficult to say. And this is where we are, my brothers. This is where we are in terms of commercial publishing in the United States. That black doesn't mean what black has historically meant in our lives and in our affairs. It has a completely different meaning. A different meaning. Different. And this is precisely why BMI is so important today. Precisely why. Because corporate America is deliberate in erasing the black population. It is deliberate in changing the entire narrative of us. Yeah, they got some titles here written by me, and Jamie Foxx's book is here.
This was good.
Shaka Sankor, his book is here. Trevor Noah, he has a book here.
I gave this to my mom, and she was like...
But these books reflect different orientations, my brothers. This is real, guys. We must be ever vigilant in terms of how we understand this country that we live in and what is happening to our population, particularly black and male population. Black no longer means black in America. Peace out, my brothers.
Now you see that? And this is another thing that I think he was locking on his sign, and I don't want to speak for Dr. Neal. I do not want to do that. But what I see in this is that you see on the front, Black History 365, and you see here on the back, a rainbow background. Black hopes, voices, dreams, futures, lives matter. Okay. So I don't know if you get the subtlety of what's there, but you do know that the rainbow representation is that of the LGBTQ community, and it's what's being pressed upon us as black men, is that we are actually into that type of thing. Yet we continue to say that we are not in alignment with that ideology. But that's the shaming tactics that are used in order to try to put us in our place. And yet you see it here, and it's like he says, corporate America is deliberate in their actions to try to lead us down a certain path. And that made me think about even, I just did the last show where we were talking about the swimming deal. And I was actually going to do a show on that actual deal, but, so much time has passed by. I don't know. If you guys think I should go ahead and do it, then I'll do it. I've got it set up. But you have a story that came out where they were talking about Marvel Comics and how that Saudi Arabia is not going to allow Doctor Strange to be shown in their country because of an LGBTQ scene. And they said it must be cut out of the movie in order for them to to see it or for them to allow it to be viewed. So I got to thinking about this, and I know I've had conversations with on panels, and we've talked about how there's this pervasiveness about how this is being pushed. Every single show has to have a gay character in it. Every single show almost has to have a gay sex scene in it. Every show has to have some sort of reference or annotation or something to point towards the presence of that lifestyle. And a lot of people don't like it. I mean, I think it's tantamount to going into a place and you say order a sandwich, and they say, well, there's going to be raisins on the bread. Well, I don't want raisins on the bread. Well, everybody gets raisins on the bread, but I don't want raisins on the bread, And I came in, and on the representation of the sandwich is on regular bread. Okay, but you're gonna make me eat the sandwich with the raisin bread because everybody must eat the bread with raisins in it. I'll give you another example. Okay, say you go to the porn shop, and you're in the straight section, and in the straight section they mix in, bisexuality, trans, gay, all that shit. They mix it all in there together. Okay. They're forcing you to view something that you don't want to see. Okay. They're introducing it subtly into the background so that you will start to see that as a normal part of the background. That's what's happening here. And it's social engineering. And there are a few people who are responsible for this social engineering. You have people who are, we saw with Genuine on that interview where he was being told, he was discriminated against them if he would not date a transsexual, and then the person tried to lean in and kiss him. That's almost sexual assault. And he already clearly said that, no, he's not into that. You will not, no, don't approach me like that, So it's being forced. Okay. So I think I've said enough on that. Now let's move over to, this is the American Psychological Association, and it has a historical chronology of the effects of racism on Black people. And the title of the paper is Examining Psychology's Contributions to the Belief in Racial Hierarchy and Perpetuation of Inequality for People of Color in the United States. Now, when I was in college, we went through this. I had to have a whole class on this. Okay? This is a very, very long show of the influence. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty long. I don't want to really go off into that, but I'll read this one piece here. Okay, this chronology demonstrates ways in which research and practice have focused on white culture and used it as a global standard. The culture evident in the very beginnings of the field is inseparable from the social and political landscape of the United States. At the end of the 19th century, organized psychology grew up in these conditions, helped to create and sustain them, and continues to bear their indelible imprint. Okay? In some of our historical review of psychology's harms to people of color indicates the psychologists have in both the past and the present established and participated in scientific models and approaches rooted in scientific racism, created, sustained, and promulgated ideas of human hierarchy through the construction, study, and interpretation of racial difference, promoted the idea that racial difference is biologically based and fixed. Okay. Use psychological science and practice to support segregated and subpar education for people of color. Created and promoted the widespread use of psychological tests and instruments that discriminated against people of color. Now, I had a class called psychological testing where we went into this, and I lost my book. I can't even remember what the name of the book is, but the book that I was required to read in my class dealt completely on this. The measuring of Black people's skulls, the thought process that, and this is psychology and medicine, that Black people didn't feel pain the same as white people. All those things that they used to basically make themselves feel better about the torment that they were putting us through, psychologically and physically. Okay. All right. Failed to take concerted action in response to calls for an end to testing and psychometric racism. Okay. Supported the widespread use of educational assessments and interventions that were lucrative for the field of psychology, but harmed people of color. Okay. So they made money on our suffering, which we know that's pervasive in this society. Provided ideological support for and failed to speak out against the colonial framework of the boarding and day school systems for First Peoples of America. Created, sustained, and promoted a view of people of color as deficient or damaged. Applied psychological science and practice to oppose race mixing and to support segregation, sterilization, and anti-marriage laws using the ideas of early 20th century eugenics. And this was touched on by Gigi, Dr. Ronald Neal. Also, Dr. Tiasan has done some work on that as well. Now, well, let me say this. I'll just go ahead and finish these last two. Failed to represent the approaches, practice, voice, and concerns of people of color within the field of psychology and within society. Gigi has talked about this. Green Gorilla, go check out his channel. Dr. Tiasan Johnson has talked about this, and Dr. Ronald Neal has talked about this. Dr. Tommy Curry has talked about this. This is still present today. And here it is, being talked about. So the last one, failed to respond or respond too slowly in the face of clear social harms to people of color. Okay? Now, not only do they itemize this, they go down and they start in 1850 and they move up. You can see year by year. And they also name names. So I'll be adding this in the description to show you guys just how much of a problem this was and is, because a lot of this data is still out there. Some of this data is still being used and still being referenced. And unfortunately, people, are still alive who were taught some of this stuff and who are ingrained into what this did, which was to teach people to look at us as lesser beings. And also, you see that one where they openly talked about it. This third one from the bottom, applied psychological science and practice to oppose race mixing and to support segregation, sterilization, and anti-marriage laws. So when these Black women say that, we don't have to be married, everybody's not supposed to be married, that came from them. That came from these white people who basically had ulterior motives. And they're out here professing this, like they came up with it on their own. And they only read people who are saying the very things that they want to take place. They don't want you to get married. They don't want you to look at black men as being victims of the same, if not worse, forms of abuse and destruction to their bodies, minds, and spirits. I see it today where people are still talking about their interactions with women who say, oh, you don't have it that bad, you know, or why is it always happening to you? You know, my wife does it. Why is this happening to you? Why are you having to go through all of this? Why does no one else go through this? And everyone that she references are other black women who are in the same field that I'm in. So then when I, show that, hey, these same things are happening to people, and here is the evidence. Here are stories that's done on it, and how this is affecting, us males in my field, and all of you guys that know me, y'all know what I do. So there is a disconnect and a lack of empathy and apathy for us as human beings, by our own as well as by them. We see this in our schools. We see this in our HBCUs, where you have black people who are in positions responsible for teaching the youth that are basically trying to prevent the youth from ascending to the position that they are in, due to jealousy, due to this bourgeoisie thought process of class. There's a class system within black folks. There's a class system outside of black folks where black folks dealing with white folks. There always has been. And to not be aware of that is to be willfully ignorant. So I think I've said enough on this. Let's see. I'm going to come on back. Let's see if I have anything else that I wanted to share with you guys. I guess I will put it in the comments, and I will try to look through some more of this. If you guys would like for me to delve into a little bit more of what she has to say, then I will definitely do that. But this is painful to see people who are actively engaging in, lazy research. I love history, and I'm sure a lot of you guys love history also. But I mean, we all know. I mean, look at the history of Egypt and how much of that is being held from us. Look at, the history of Africa and how much of that has been, taken, cataloged, and placed in European vaults. But what they present to us is that there was no agricultural benefit from Africans. There was no engineering or math or astronomy or anything of any use that was solely given to the rest of humanity by Africans. When we know that's not true. It's not true. But you guys tell me what you think. I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to the show. Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all my donations and people who are supporting the channel. I hope to get better and do a better job for you guys in discussing some of these tough subjects that we have to discuss. And I want to say this before I leave also, is that there's been a lot of talk about politics and whatnot, and people fleeing one party for another party. And what I want to say to that is that, when people are asked, if, a party has done something, for them, I want you to ask yourself, are you present there? Are you caucusing within that party? Are you as men going in numbers and telling them that this is what we want? like the women are. And I dare say that we're not. Women are showing up in large numbers while we're out working and doing things to better ourselves and making money. And we are basically just saying, well, hey, it's not really going to affect us that much, so I'm not really going to worry about it. We got to stop that. If the Democratic Party is not doing anything for you, you force your way in, and in numbers, in mass, and you go in there like a bunch of fucking Vikings, and you have a war council, and you stand on it and say, this is what we're going to do. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson showed a conference. No, I think it was Gigi. Might have been Dr. T. But they showed a conference in 1970 where it was black folks, white folks, everybody was in there. And their main objective was to get some remedy for everything that black people have endured in this country in order to keep them in a subculture, a lower state than the rest of Americans. And now we got the young folks now thinking, as long as I got money, then I'll get their respect. And we've known, for those of us that are older, we know that your money is not going to get you respect with them. Your money is still black money. And there'll still be places that you won't be able to go. There'll still be places and things that you won't have access to. And it is what it is. I charge everyone to read, to not only read, observe in an intelligent manner, and figure this system out. And people say all the time, well, what did the last generation do for me? The last generation put you on game. That's what they did. They taught you about what was going on up until the point to where, we start having a lot of breakdown in the family. But that breakdown in the family is the sole responsibility of that is feminism. Feminism that some of our women basically picked up and sold us out with. So now we're seeing the rewards of them basically joining in to basically win at the expense of the community, at the expense of family. And, people like bell hooks are responsible for that. Yet we still have these young women flocking to read this nonsense. And all I can say to that is, we have to do our due diligence. We have to speak out. We cannot just allow these people to go out and make these stupid claims and use these people like they're the gospel. And I also task you with, just take a look when you're in these groups, these men's groups, where we get together and we're trying to solve problems. They always say that we're not solving problems. What we're doing is, we're just in here bitching. We're not solving problems. We're complaining. But that's why we used to have places where just men would go so that we could discuss problems and problem solve and network. But now women are in these places and they're screwing up the whole process, injecting doubt, making you believe that your ability to solve the problem is a figment of your imagination. I tell you guys, don't listen. Men who are of means, mentally, monetarily, people who are true thinkers, who are for the community, for our men and women being educated responsibly. We have work to do. And you have to call this stuff out. So I would hope that you guys would start to do that so that we can start turning some of this around. And you got to start at a young age. I think it was Caesar that said that, basically, if I don't care anything about the parents if I have the children, because he can teach the children from the ground up to be Romans. And that's what's happening. They're getting our children at a young age, and our young daughters especially. They're hitting them up at a young age. And if you read, you'll find that feminists have no problems lying and inserting a fiction in order to win. You know? And I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for joining me. And good night.
I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home.